Well, well. The Champions League is back, baby. Yes, European football is back, and things are really heating up now as we move on to the quarterfinals. We're well and truly back to some classic European nights in this classic competition format. And it does look like business as usual, with no underdogs unfortunately left standing, unless you count Arsenal. But before we jump into the quarterfinal predictions, I'm just going to take a look back at my predictions from the last round to see which ones I got right and which ones I got wrong. Spoiler alert, most of them. So we're going to start off with Aston Villa versus Club Bruges. Now, I had backed Villa to progress, and I was right to do so. Bruges did have a goal in them, but just could not withstand this very strong Villa side, who eased past the Belgians. It was a very convincing win for Aston Villa, who scored 3 goals in each leg of the tie. Never really in doubt, to be honest. Then we move on to Lille versus Dortmund. I had backed Dortmund to progress, and it was once again the correct decision. It wasn't as clear-cut as it could have been, with the German side only progressing with a 1-goal advantage, but hey, progression is progression. Lille held Dortmund to a draw in Germany, but just couldn't win in France, which is kind of way to be hoping to win at your home ground, but just wasn't to be for the French side. We saw Dortmund progress. Jonathan David, please join Nottingham Forest. Then we want to Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid. I backed Real Madrid to overcome their Madrid rivals, but they had to do so via penalties. Real won at the Bernabeu, whereas Atleti won at the Metropolitano. But it was Real Madrid who won on penalties in their opponent's backyard. But even this game wasn't without controversy, as Julian Alvarez had his penalty disallowed for hitting it twice. Personally, I don't see it, and I think the jury is very much still out on this call, but nonetheless, Real have progressed, and Atleti have not. And then move on to Bayer Leverkusen versus Bayern Munich. I backed Bayern to win this all-German clash, and again, I was right to do so. It proved to be quite an easy set of fixtures for Bayern Munich, as they ran out 5-0 winners on aggregate, and in the end, it turned out to be a pretty comfortable set of fixtures for the Bavarians. Was anybody really doubting that? And then we move on to Arsenal versus PSV. I backed Arsenal to progress here, but I didn't think it would be in such dominant fashion, although this is PSV we're talking about. Arsenal dominated PSV in their own backyard, putting 7 past them before settling for a 2-2 draw in North London. 9-3 on aggregate is crazy. No, PSV just couldn't do it. And are we really shocked? And then move on to Inter Milan versus Feyenoord. I backed Inter Milan to progress against the other Dutch side in the competition, and they did so with some ease. Not as easy as Arsenal had it, but still fairly easy for them. Inter Milan eased past Feyenoord, scoring twice in both fixtures and never really looking in trouble of getting knocked out. Fairly dominant, as you would expect. And then we move on to Liverpool versus PSG. Now, I had backed Liverpool to progress here, and I was wrong. These were some pretty boring games up until the penalty shootout, which PSG ultimately won. But it was not good football to watch, I'll tell you that. Both teams only managed to score 1 goal in their respective away fixtures, which is just still so bizarre. Why are you losing at your own home ground in the Champions League? These two massive teams, what's going on there? It wasn't good viewing, but congrats to PSG. They look really good this season, discounting that game because I was terrible. And finally, Barcelona versus Benfica. I backed Barcelona in this tie, and of course they progressed. Barca are looking really good this season as they eased past Benfica to further show that they're pretty good. Old Barca isn't back, but some form of that may be returning. Rafinha was once again on fire, scoring 3 of the Blaugrana's 4 goals to send them through to the quarterfinals. How on earth did that man play for Leeds? It's actually crazy. But yes, those were my predictions for the round of 16. As you can tell, I actually got most of them right. So, the ball knowledge is very impressive, but that doesn't matter because we've got to move on to the quarterfinals now, the real meat and potatoes of this video and what I'm sure you're all here for. We've got some pretty exciting fixtures coming up as the competition heats up. Obviously, with these bigger sides remaining, these will be some big fixtures, but I like the matchups we've been given for the most part. It should make for some good games and hopefully some very exciting results. And we're going to start off with Arsenal versus Real Madrid. This I think is the big tie of the round, but it could also be one of the most boring games we could see. Well, if Arsenal have anything to say about it, it will be. Both teams have continued their solid domestic form. They're both second in their respective leagues. Real Madrid are currently 3 points off leaders Barca, while Arsenal are 12 points adrift of Liverpool. The Gunners progressed quite easily, putting 9 goals past PSV over their 2 fixtures, scoring 7 of those in Eindhoven. Things weren't as easy for Real Madrid, who only got past their City rivals on penalties, but qualification is qualification, so who cares how you do it. Things are looking up for Arsenal as well, as Saka is back from injury, and he even scored on his return, so things are looking up for Arsenal. Him being back in the fold is such a massive boon for Arsenal. He's going to massively increase their creativity and actually gives them a functioning attacking line for once. However, both teams are experiencing quite a few injuries, with Arsenal also experiencing the most out of the two. Unlucky lads. With Gabriel possibly out, very likely out, he's injured. I don't think it's happening. There are some quite delusional Arsenal fans saying that Gabriel should play despite his injury, but if you saw him in that game, I don't think so. Real Madrid are also experiencing injuries, but nowhere near as many as Arsenal, and arguably not as important as Arsenal's absentees either. I can see this being a quite close game between the two, as each side boast quality players, but I think Real Madrid just have that edge. I'd argue Real have the better squad and just play better football than Arsenal, and Ancelotti just needs to raise an eyebrow to qualify. I'm going to back Real Madrid here. I can't see it being a close affair between the two sides, but ultimately, I see Real qualifying and bringing us one step closer to an El Clasico Champions League final. Sorry Arsenal, but I don't think you've got it in you to overcome this Real Madrid side, and this isn't even the best they've been. And then we move on to Inter Milan versus Bayern Munich. These are two European heavyweights here, as Inter Milan face Bayern Munich, which will see one of these giants knocked out of the competition, in case you didn't know how knockout football worked. Bayern are currently romping to the Bundesliga title, currently 6 points clear of Leverkusen, and it actually looks like Harry Kane might be lifting his first trophy, which can only bode well for the upcoming World Cup. I am delusional. Inter Milan also find themselves top of Serie A, but only 3 points clear of Napoli, who are looking to reclaim their Scudetto as well. Should be a good end to the season over in Italy. You know, there's some good fixtures coming up, a tight title race. Wow, wonderful stuff. Both teams eased through their round of 16 ties, Bayern beating their title rivals Leverkusen, whilst Inter eased past Feyenoord without much issue. Bayern are suffering from quite a few injuries at the time of writing, with players like Alphonso Davies, Upamecano and Manuel Neuer all out, but Inter haven't escaped either, with Zielinski, Taremi and Martinez all out at time of writing. But the injuries weren't that major, they weren't supposed to be out for a long time, so they'll probably be back for this fixture, but at time of writing, FotMob says they're out, so they're out. I'm hoping for a good set of fixtures here. Both teams are capable of playing some really good football, and both sides are chock full of quality as well, which makes predicting this fixture extremely difficult. I think I'm going to back Bayern here though. I know I may be wearing an Inter Milan shirt. Nice shirt though. But I ultimately think that Bayern Munich will progress in this tie. In my opinion, there's not really much that separates either side. Both are powerhouses of European football. Both top of their respective leagues. Both play some good football with some quality players. It's a massive toss-up between the two because either side could go and grab it really. But with all that being said, I'm going to back Bayern Munich here to progress. I'm backing Harry Kane to have the chance to win another trophy alongside the Bundesliga, hopefully. It's unlikely that Bayern win it, but hey, you never know. That's the beauty of the Champions League, baby. And then we move on to Aston Villa versus PSG. Aston Villa continue to impress in the Champions League as they find themselves in the quarterfinals. Unfortunately for the Villains though, they've been drawn against a PSG side that's looking quite good at the moment. Their title win is all but confirmed. It may even be confirmed by the time you're watching this video. Winning Ligue 1 is normal for PSG at this point, but winning it this early in the season, while we're currently in April, is just mental. Villa aren't in contention for the Premier League title, but are still battling to secure another season of European football, as they currently find themselves in 7th. But are also still in the FA Cup, which if they win, could give them a bye to Europe, but they'll have to get past Crystal Palace and hopefully the mighty Nottingham Forest to do so. So we'll have to wait and see. They've got a really good squad though, some amazing depth, and I'm sure they'll secure European football come end of the season one way or another. Neither side are experiencing that many injuries either, with each team being able to field their strongest side during these cup ties. One of Villa's most impressive signings this season has been Asensio, who is currently on loan from the Parisians, but he will be eligible to play against his parent side, from what I can tell, which is very interesting. Imagine if he scores the goal to put Villa through PSG. That'd be quite an interesting turn of events there. I'm not sure how that would go. If it does, you heard it here first. Clip this for your TikToks when he scores. I'm looking forward to this fixture though. Both of these sides play some really good football, and I'm sure that both Emery and Asensio will be looking to prove PSG wrong. As much as I like Villa though, I'm going to have to back PSG in this one. Whilst it did take them penalties to knock out Liverpool, PSG have been playing some brilliant football this season and look like a real force to be reckoned with as well. It's crazy that their best chance to win the Champions League has come without Mbappe. That's all I'm saying. I do have an agenda, but that's what I'm saying. I'm expecting a good set of clashes here, and I do think it'll be a tough match between the two. However, I see PSG progressing. And finally, Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund. Yes, this is our final quarter-final fixture, as this sees Barcelona face off against last year's finalists, Borussia Dortmund. And you've just got to feel for Dortmund in this one. Barcelona are currently top of La Liga with a 3-point gap between them and Real Madrid at the time of writing. They've been playing some brilliant football this season and have enjoyed a pretty successful European campaign, all things considered. Something needs to be said about that Rafinha though. He's been absolutely cooking for Barcelona this season, with 47 goal involvements from 43 appearances in all competitions this season. Things haven't been that great for Dortmund though. They currently found themselves sat 10th in the Bundesliga, but have found their time in Europe a little bit easier as they made it through to the quarterfinals. But it still wasn't an easy affair for them in France. Dortmund do have some really good players at their disposal, but things just haven't been working out for them domestically, which has caused the Black Yellows to hire a new manager. But even then, things haven't really improved since hiring Niko Kovac. This does seem to be quite an easy game to call though, in my opinion. I reckon Barcelona will progress here. I know, it's a crazy call, but I think Barcelona will do it. What can I say? They've been a really good watch this season, playing some really good football, and I just don't think Dortmund will have much, if anything at all, to stop them. They may be able to, grab a goal, make the game tough at Signal Iduna Park, but other than that, I don't think Barcelona will be troubled too much, to be honest. I'm going to have to back Barcelona to progress, with an El Clasico final looking more and more likely as the competition rumbles on. As much as I like Dortmund, and to be fair, I like Barcelona as well, I do think the Blaugrana will be the ones to progress here. I think if you think otherwise, you are insane. They are the favourites for a reason. And I'm sorry, Dortmund, but I look at your squad and I don't see anything that can stop this Barcelona team. They are very good. And they will fight till the death to get a result as well. It's crazy. It's mental. But yeah, those have been my Champions League predictions for the quarterfinals. If you've got any of your own, please leave them down in the comments below. I have been O2GT. Hope you've enjoyed. And who knows, next season you could be seeing Nottingham Forest in these predictions. And I, for one, am very happy about that prospect. But until then, I think Barcelona win the Champions League. Gonna put it out there. I think they'll do it. We shall see. See you guys in the next one. Peace.